I've told this story before, but I like telling it because fuck Tammy. I had a boss named Tammy. One night, we were all working late doing stocktake, and we were discussing the impending lunar eclipse. Someone asked what happens during an eclipse. Tammy grandly explained that the eclipse would occur when America went in front of the moon, blocking our, Australia's, view of it. Like she literally thought the Earth stretched itself into like a U-bend or neck pillow shape, and half of it stayed in our normal orbit, and the other half stretched itself over and around to casually block the moon for the rest of the Earth. My roommate for the last 3 years once said that if solar technology keeps advancing at the rate it is, we will absorb all the energy made by the sun and fix global warming. Not 5 minutes later, after attempting to inform this poor fellow about how the sun's energy output is not determined by what the energy eventually interacts with, he states that wind farms are worse because they cause tropical storms. I hope he is just an epic troll. I don't know. Tell me your stories, guys. Had a guy in a third-year undergrad developmental psych course raise his hand in a full lecture hall and ask the professor, "Professor, do infants diagnosed with SIDS get asthma later in life? Like, are they more likely to get asthma?" SIDS stands for Sudden Infant Death Syndrome. He just kept pursuing the question. The professor didn't understand how she could answer it. She thought there was some kind of logic in it that she wasn't seeing. Finally, some girl took the initiative to shout across the room, "No, they are not more likely to get asthma, they are dead. They have died suddenly, and will thus not be at risk of developing asthma." Great day. He always sat in front of me and I would see him writing just absolutely horrible poetry and song lyrics. Tell me your stories, guys. I am half Korean, going to high school in the Midwest during the 1992 LA riots. My typing teacher pulled me into the hallway and asked if I had an uncle or something I can call in LA to make the riot stop. She said she knew that we are all close and we all have stores and whatnot, therefore I must have a connection there. I was like, "Lady, even if I did have an uncle I could call, do you think he is Batman?" Tell me your stories, guys. My high school classmate whose name is Nick. We were in chemistry, doing a lab practical, which required the use of a bulb pipette, a glass pipette with a removable bulb that you squeeze. Nick didn't know how to use the pipette, so he put it to his mouth to suck up sulfuric acid. It got about 3/4 of the way up before our teacher screamed, "NICKKKKK. Stop that right now." Tell me your stories, guys. My cousin. All through public school, she was a snob who looked down on everyone. She was super stylish and struggled academically. We graduated in 2014. We both went to colleges, not the same one. She got a job at a bar, stayed out late drinking. Her boyfriend told her she didn't need to complete college, so she just stopped showing up. Didn't drop. Just stopped showing up. Completely flunked out. Here comes the mega stupidity. Our families live hours away from her college at the time. Her family went to move her back home. My cousin's mom noticed a pile of clothes in the corner. The mom said, "What's that? Your laundry. Pack it and we'll wash it when we get home later." My cousin, "I kid you not, you can wash those?" Turns out, she'd been throwing away clothes instead of washing them. She claimed she didn't know she could, yet she washed her undergarments and bras without a hitch. She's now at home with her family and has started doing more chores to show an increase in responsibility. She still tries to throw clothes away, citing that she didn't know they could be washed and reused. Makes me wonder what she thought all those years before college, before she left home. She wore some of the same outfits repeatedly. She had to have known they could be washed. When I was in the Navy, there was a cook on my ship. He once served rare chicken. I genuinely couldn't tell whether he was trying to cover up his limitless incompetence or if he genuinely believed that rare poultry is a real thing. He was dumb enough to believe it. Another time, he just filled a pan with ground beef and called it meatloaf. Another time he was supposed to make sugar cookies, several hundred of them for the whole crew. He didn't bother to read the label on the container he opened, and apparently he didn't taste the batter at any point, and he actually made salt cookies. He used up all the remaining salt in the pantry and we had unseasoned food for the remaining several weeks of the mission, during which time the captain assigned someone to be the cook's bodyguard. Edits. I was not aware that chicken sashimi is a thing. Still, intentionally uncooked meat and unintentionally partially cooked meat are very different. This was the latter. You can't make salt from seawater for several reasons. 1. There are no facilities to do it on board. 2. No captain would jeopardize the success of a military mission by unnecessarily feeding the crew food of unknown cleanliness. You couldn't just assign someone else to cook. I didn't specify, but this was on a submarine. There are no spare people to reassign and cook is already the easiest, least able to cause disaster job on the ship. There was a troubled kid I went to high school with. He struggled with school but had friends but was starting to do drugs and go down a bad way. He decided to photocopy the front and back side of a $20 bill, cut it out of normal paper, and glued the two halves with Elmer's glue. What's even more sad is that to test his new money he went to the gas station and bought some gum and it actually worked. So in his mind it must have meant that it was foolproof. So he then tried to go and deposit the glued-up money at an actual bank. He was obviously found out and arrested. I don't know where he is now, but I'm assuming he is making similar life choices. Tell me your stories, guys. My flatmate at university did something similar. He put a whole bunch of effort into forging 10-pound notes, researched paper, found some spray adhesive that was just the right consistency, got hold of a very sharp craft knife and cutting board, figured out how to fake the metal strip and watermark with kitchen foil and crafty printing. He had an excellent printer. His copies were pretty good, but by no means perfect. So he and his accomplice Joe decided to keep to two simple rules. Only use them in dimly lit bars when it was too busy for staff to check every note, and only ever take one copy out of the house. That way if they were caught they could claim it was an honest mistake, they got them in their change, etc. Well, at first it worked surprisingly well. They'd buy one drink with the dodgy 10, pocket the change and nip back to the flat to grab another. In fact, it worked so well that they got cocky. One day, my flatmate was out with Joe in a crowded area in broad daylight when they decided to roll a joint. Joe took a bag of weed out of his pocket and passed it over. Right in front of two police officers. Of course, the officers stopped and searched them and found over 200 pounds worth of forged notes, all with the same serial number. Had a next-door neighbor who robbed a Howard Johnson's at the top of our street at gunpoint, wearing a ski mask. Took the money, took off the mask and was walking home, 2 blocks down said street, when cops pulled him over, and found the mask, the gun and the money. He was wasted and asked them, would it help if I said I'm sorry? Got a couple years in Rikers Island. Came out, broke into a local apartment house, stole some money and jewelry, got stuck out on a fire escape when the ladder wouldn't go down, and he had closed the window behind him. Couple more years. That's 2 stories, I guess. There's a few more, but you get the picture. He did leave me a box of cassettes when he went up one time, among them the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore. I became a lifelong fan, so, thanks, unnamed next-door failed robber. He was actually a really nice guy, and, like, a young Ray Liotta handsome. Just dumb as a brick. Tell me your stories, guys.